What's up, everybody? Glecko here, back with another video. So this is going to be my review for The Water Magician. I just finished watching the final episode, well, really yesterday, but last I watched around yesterday around like 8 o'clock. Today is the following morning. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, so this show was really great, but it did scare me. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed this yet, but I really love superpowers and magic and all that. It's the reason why I have multiple channels dedicated to superheroes and anime and stuff and all that. But, um, so when I see about a new, magic anime, I'm onto it. But lately, a lot of the magical like animes that revolve around magic and all that has kind of been letting me down. So, but this show was great. Um, Overall, the first season is just about it sets things up. It's about character development. You will meet the guy named Rio who dies prematurely. He's sent to another world and he's reincarnated. He's reincarnated. Everyone in this world has magic. Well, no. I'm so sorry. About 20% of the people in this world, I believe, have magic or so. Rio gains and everyone has one affinity. Rio is water slash ice. He used them both. Rio is extremely powerful and extremely talented, but this isn't one of the anime, and this is what I was really happy about. This isn't an anime where it's like you need to go defeat the demon lord. You need to say no. He just said they literally said, you know what? Well, the person who reincarnated him said, you know what? You go be whatever you want. And Rio just wanted to live a quiet, peaceful life. So Rio he's sent to the outskirts of a kingdom, and there he has a house, like a starter pack, so to speak. There's food in the house and all that. We see Rio train with his powers and get better and better until one day he has to rescue a man by the name of Abel. He travels with Abel to a city, and then Rio adventure and Rio becomes an adventurer to make a living. And that's where I'll go ahead and stop with the story. So, what is season one about? Season one really is just setting things up. I highly recommend you guys watch it. This is a good show. It does kind of meander, or it's kind of like it has a little bit of what amounts to what feels like filler. But all in all, this is a pretty solid show. But season one is just setting up for the big things. Like at the end of episode 12, the person who reincarnated Rio talks about how he looks into Rio's future and he sees the climatic events that Rio is gonna go through, and it shows. And as he's talking about that, it shows some of the more powerful and unique characters that Rio has met throughout his journey. One of which being the person he fought earlier in that episode 12, that is. And that is the Inferno Magician, who is just really, really overpowered fire magician, right? It shows when Rio spoke to a dragon. Yeah, before he met Abel, he spoke to a dragon. It shows the Dullahan, who trained Rio in swordsmanship. It shows his love interest, the elf girl, So it's really just kind of like, okay, it's like one long prologue. Season one is basically just like, no, I'm not going to say it like that because that kind of devalues it, But season one really just introduces all the big players who's going to be important going forward. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is, like I said earlier, this anime is great. Great. It's got a unique visual style. I don't know. I think the visual style is, I'm not going to say unique, but it's it's not bad. The art and all that, the way the cities and stuff are designed, it's old timey, such and such. Well, I was getting ready to say it would be nice to see a show like a thing like this where someone gets reincarnated with magic and they're in like a modern world. But even though this had nothing to do with reincarnation, I guess our Crusade is kind of like that. But whatever. Yeah. Um. Characters. Here's where we go. I I I like Rio, the main character. I really do. But sometimes, like throughout the first, at some point, I kind of like didn't. Yeah, he kind of annoyed me. Just this almost childish, and I believe he was pretty young when he got reincarnated, but this like almost childish like attitude he has. And there's this one point where there's this great threat that comes against the city, and Rio is legit nowhere to be found, despite being the strongest person in that city. Now there was another adventurer who wasn't around either. So, uh, but then again, I mean, I guess you can't. I don't. That just didn't make any sense to not have him at that battle. But we also saw that we also like Rio's kind of inconsistent because a little bit of spoilers here. And as I was saying before, I got sidetracked. We also saw we saw him show up at and save his friend Abel from a demon prince or something like that. So I mean, he does do things, but uh, Rio's like so one thing. Like I said, Rio is kind of inconsistent. I'm sorry, guys, my thoughts are all over the place. In the final fight, when he's fighting the Inferno Magician, the reason, and this is spoilers, the reason he wanted to kill the Inferno Magician. He was dead set on going all out and ending that guy. And that is because the Inferno Magician was guarding the princess of a foreign country. The party was attacked. The target was the princess and her brother. Well, the princess was like knocked off the edge of where the party was at because it was on a cliff, and she landed in front of Rio's friends. These three adventurers he kind of formed a small little bond with when he first got to the town of Loon. That's the town that Abel took him to. Well, Rio, they caught the princess, the three adventurers, Niels, and I forget the other two guys' name, who were friends with Rio. Rio was going to meet up with them. No, he actually saw there was a flare that was shot, like an emergency signal from the princess, and Rio saw it, and it just never, honestly, it's never explained how Rio got to where his friends and the princess and the Inferno Magician was, but the Inferno Magician follows the princess as she's falling, and she lands, and he gets to where she eventually falls, which is with Rio's friends. Basically, the Inferno Magician believes they've kidnapped her, and he was kind of like, out of his mind because of his past traumas. But he attacks them, and he severely hurts all of them. Rio gets there, and he sees this, and Rio is dead set on killing him for that matter. So here's why I say Rio's inconsistent. Abel shows up. When Abel shows up, Rio tells him, he hurt my friends. I will never forgive this guy. You get in my way, I'll freeze you and kill you too. But Rio's a bigger Rio knew Abel longer. Abel's the reason he went to Loon. Abel's a bigger friend to Rio than the other three. So I don't know. I don't know. Something about Rio, some things just didn't make sense. Um, um, but I will say this. One thing that I really enjoyed about this, because I don't want to be a negative Nancy, because I'm saying how the show's good. It is really good, so I don't want to down it too much. But I really enjoyed seeing Rio train with his powers. And in fact, I wish we could have seen more of this. And another thing that I will say, another complaint, Rio doesn't really seem to, in terms of, how cool and how he uses his ice and water magic, he kind of leaves a lot to be desired. Like, bro's no Ice Calamity. He's no Alice Elise. He's no Elfaria. Heck, he's no, Grave from, Fairy Tale. I mean, I would go so far as to say his fighting style is kind of boring. And I'm honestly not sure how I feel about him using a sword in addition to fighting, but oh well. But all in all, this is it's a pretty decent, decent show. I really enjoyed it, despite some of the things that kind of irked me about it. But hope you guys will give it a chance. Try again. Sorry, that's my other phone. Again, this is the Water Magician. I saw it on Crunchyroll. This is Glecko. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you all next time.